rules of the house. If you are not talking, please mute. If you want to intervene, raise your hand. We have a couple of presentations for you, and they will all guide you through a couple of replication relevant aspects, and then afterwards we have a discussion. Don't hesitate to intervene and make sure you get the maximum out of it and you can contribute as well. Can we have the first presentation? Yeah, thank you. And so our first presenter can start. I think we need the next slide. Yeah. Nadja, go ahead.
Yes, hello everyone. I hope you can hear me well. Just give me maybe a short sign if I can be heard.
Yeah, we can.
Okay, perfect. And yes, so welcome, hello everyone. My name is Nadja Riedel. I work for the Digital City unit of the city at Leipzig, and I'm working partly as a city coordinator for the current SSC1 project SPARCS, but I was also the city coordinator for the Triangulum project, so one of the first SSC1. Let's say the city of Leipzig's view on the replication issue, which we have gained in those two projects. Next slide, please. Thank you. So yeah, Triangulum was one of the first SCC1 projects to start. So we started in 2015. I joined the team at the beginning of 2016. So I was mainly processing the whole project together with the city of Leipzig. And of course, when this project was starting, the expectations were quite high for the follower cities to replicate the solutions from our 3 lighthouses, which have been Eindhoven, Stavanger, and Manchester. Yeah, what we have done in the Triangulum project was really not so much about implementing, copying projects, but first we had to approach, let's say, the smart city topic as a whole. And we started with thinking about what could smart city be for a city of Leipzig. And this approach was also relevant because the project was located or settled in a department called Office of Urban Renewal and Housing Construction Subsidies. So a unit within the city not necessarily related to any smart city issues, as there was none of this kind in the city of Leipzig. And yeah, so what we have done within the project was very much on focusing on governance issues, mindset issues, how to engage people in smart city topics, and who is our sparring partner, let's say, as a municipality to work with when we want to become a smart city. We came up with a lot of projects within or ideas what could be smart city solutions, especially for a district in Leipzig in the western part of the city. But yet we had the problem that there was no budget for implementation ready. So replication was really limited in planning for new projects to finally implement something. And this is how we entered also different calls to become a lighthouse city, and we applied 3 times till we managed to become a lighthouse city in the SPARCS project, which started last year. And we are one of the 2 lighthouses. The other one is Espoo in Finland. And this call has a strong focus on positive energy districts. So we moved a little bit forward from having this general approach on smart cities and now really focusing on heating and energy solutions for neighborhood development in the city. And what was crucial for us is that all the networks and let's say cooperation we created within Triangulum, those were the basis for setting up also our SPARCS consortium. So one thing we really took out, and that what we had really learned from the other partners in the SPARCS, in the Triangulum project, was how to involve other partners and stakeholders. Next slide, please. So what was replication for Leipzig and what didn't really out? When we started with the Triangulum project, and we always had a look at the different kind of projects going on in the lighthouses, we were really always kind of stuck in okay, Stavanger is doing such great things. They're having so good projects. Why can't we just copy paste them to our city? And it didn't work out because we had different challenges. And besides something like the administrative stuff, let's say, so as I said, we as a Triangulum team were located in a unit which is usually dealing with urban renewal and housing construction subsidies. The smart city topic was not really on the agenda of the whole unit, so there was also no budget for it planned for this kind of topic. We were also not the team responsible for energy efficiency or climate protection. Those are other departments within the city. So we were at some point simply the wrong person for implementing smart city solutions. Then, of course, we had other legal and institutional frameworks which prohibited us from implementing solutions. So even if we found something that would have been in our working scope, we had problems, for example, securing budget. We had different topics where we were just not the right people to do it. And also the not available budget prohibited us from really replicating solutions. And what was really a big, let's say, missing link in the Triangulum project for the follower cities, which I think is now solved in the new SPARCS or other new SCC1 projects, that we couldn't engage other stakeholders to be involved with us with the project. So for us, it meant that our public utilities, for example, the energy companies, they were not a direct partner within the city. And a lot of the measures that were implemented by the lighthouse cities, for all the energy solutions, for example, which would have been, let's say, the task or in the scope of the energy company, we couldn't really reach out to them to include them in the project because it was just not possible because of the regulations of the projects. So what will we take out of the project then? So next slide, please. So for us, it was really not about copying and pasting, but for us, it was really about replicating knowledge and also capacity building project for us. I would say that maybe if we look back on the whole Triangulum process and also on how SPARCS had started now, replication is taking place a lot at coffee breaks and dinner parties at night, because this is the way where you talk about, where you have like a sounding board for your solution. So you get in direct contact with the other cities and talk about the different kind of projects in a more related way to your own circumstances. What was important for us, as I said, we had this problem that we were kind of the right people, but stuck in the wrong office or department of the city. But during Triangulum, the concept evolved to have an own, we now call it digital city unit within the city, who is responsible for implementing smart city solutions. And we developed, so I can really say so really the Triangulum team together with some other representative from the municipality, we developed the concept for this digital city unit within the Triangulum project. And this is where really the cooperation with the lighthouse cities, but also with the other follower cities helped us to have like let's say like a sounding board for the concept that we have for this digital city unit, and to get to learn from the experiences that all the other cities have had. And this went into this digital city unit. And when we first started the unit in April last year, we were 5 people, but I can say that 4 of those people were part of the Triangulum team. So this was the big gain that we got out of the project. And this is also now the team working on the SPARCS project. So we have at least some legacy. So what was replication for us was really much the exchange, the capacity building, being a sounding board, and not the copying or paste of solutions. Let's say the really lifetime projects that we could see in the other cities, they sparked the idea that we can do within our own city. So maybe to sum it up, what is a replication for Leipzig is a really ongoing process to define each city's way on becoming a smart city. And I can also say that although Triangulum has ended at the beginning of this year, we are still in contact with all the other cities, exchanging ideas and thoughts and talking about projects. And I really also want to say that replication is not only taking place like a top-down approach from Lighthouse to follow a city, but it's really intersectoral going on between the different cities. And it is usually not limited to the concrete measures of a project. So the concept for the digital city unit was not a measure within Triangulum, but this was happening outside of the city. So this was something that we got off the project, although it was not, like a target of the project to come up with new governance structures in the follower cities. So yes, so that would be the Leipzig view on it, and I'm happy to hear your thoughts on the replication issue. Thank you.
Thank you. I suggest we take maybe one question now, if there's a remark, and then if we have a question. So I don't see a hand raised. Is there anyone who wants to give a first feedback on Nadja's presentation? If not, then I suggest we move to the next one, because then we will get different views, and that allows you to maybe reflect on it. Nadja, thank you. And I really like the fact that you said this informal way. I heard you saying coffee breaks and evenings. I know people that do it at 7 o'clock in the morning in a coffee shop as well. So we can expand that and maybe impact replication as well through expanding that to the morning section. Okay, can we get the next presentation?
Hello. Yes, hello everybody.
Yeah.
My name is Tatar. I am a researcher, but also I am working as a replication coordinator in one of the current smart city lighthouse cities, SmartEnCity. And I'm also very pleased to be here and discuss those issues regarding replication here with you today. And I already heard very interesting and nice thoughts from Nadja so far.
Thank you.
But regarding SmartEnCity, then we are a project ongoing for 4 years by now, and well, the official end will be next year, but we are quite probably going for an extension also. So probably we will be seeing another 2 years of this project still ongoing. So all of our results are not yet there. If we talk about solutions and monitoring results, but we already have, of course, quite many learnings and experience from this very huge project. And in our project, 3 lighthouse cities from Spain, Denmark, and Estonia work together. And also we have 2 follower cities from Italy and Bulgaria. Besides coordinating replication work package in the SmartEnCity project, I'm also very closely involved with Lighthouse City Tartu activities here locally, and coordinating several activities here locally as well. Today I would like to I would like to give a very brief overview of what is replication in our project and how we have approached to replication. And I think it is quite similar in many ways to what other quite many lighthouse projects are doing already. And of course, we also work a lot with solutions, packaging of solutions. We have almost 30 defined solutions within our lighthouse cities. But actually, these solutions, well, I cannot say they are secondary, but they are very strongly supporting our main focus in replication. I actually was too hasty. I will need to go back. Okay. It's not working. Oh, okay. Yes, so well, our approach is actually a bit more holistic, and the whole replication work is actually centered around finding this comprehensive, holistic way of planning replication in a city and having this climate transition, smart transition as a city journey. And for that, we have actually mostly worked with developing this overarching methodology for a city to really start with energy transition and climate transition and urban transition in a larger scale. Now this methodological work has been finished. We have a Cities for Zero methodology, which is a step-by-step guideline for cities who want to become a smart city and climate neutral city. And it has several phases, and the first one is very much focusing on long-term visioning and participative planning and engagement processes. So not just solutions, but trying to combine and find the best combination of solutions for one city. We have already tested this approach within our own cities in all of 5 cities, including lighthouse and follower cities. And we can say now that at least the first phases of this overarching methodology are really working and helping cities to thrive towards more holistic approach to this energy transition process. This methodology and this experience so far will be actually backed up by replication toolkit. This is a sort of guidelines helping cities to go through this whole planning and visioning process, and later on also implementation phases. And the main channel for us in order to spread this knowledge and also involve other interested cities is through SmartEnCity network, which is a special dedicated network developed at the beginning of SmartEnCity project. We now have 55 cities in this network. Our target is 60, and everybody who are working with city networks probably know how challenging this task is. And our main aim hasn't been to compete with any other existing network already, but rather to complement and to have this, let's say, for us, a more direct or convenient channel to work with cities who may be interested in the same things what SmartEnCity project is doing, but at the same time, this is definitely not just one-way process, as also Nadja said, not just from lighthouse cities to follower cities, but the main aim is to have this multiple-way learning process. So all cities belonging to this, our community of interest, also display what they are doing. We exchange this experience. And the main tool, we have this network bulletin monthly. We always showcase cases from all over the cities belonging to the network. But what we learned from the beginning, we tried and struggled a lot in order to set this community of interest and really work and engage with them. But then we realized that we need a bit more effective strategy in order to do that and in order to foster replication. And 2 years ago, we actually changed our network strategy a bit and established these local bubbles or local networks in the cities who are represented in the SmartEnCity project. And now we have basically 5 local SmartEnCity networks operating, and we have already seen that this approach is more effective. And as you can see also in one figure down here, left side, then we do this regular checkup and feedback round within 55 cities belonging in our network. And the recent one shows really that cities prefer to collaborate within local networks where the context is more similar, where they can talk in the same language, and where many challenges are the similar. So in sum, our replication strategy is rather this more holistic view, more holistic approach. We take it as a city journey towards more systemic changes. We communicate and talk very much about Cities for Zero methodology and this overarching approach to become a smart city and to engage, to take this as a holistic and integrated development process. And we have a very ambitious goal for one project. We would like to have to come from this more general attention level and dissemination and communication level to interest creation, desire phase, having our network members active, and to reach to the action phase, where we hope to see that at least 15 members of our network will step into or will be developing also these holistic integrated energy plans or integrated urban plans during this replication process and after that. To sum up, just some barriers and some learnings that we have seen during this work. This is based on scientific research, but also based on this regular checkup with our network cities. And the main barriers, I think these are not really surprising because they keep coming up constantly. But the main and the biggest barrier for replication for many cities is really financial issues and insufficient external financial support. And also I added some figures here from our network cities feedback rounds, where in the first figure you can see that many cities are having already strategic plans on energy and decarbonization topics, and many are developing them already. So this is a good sign for us if we have this ambitious goal to see more of those holistic approaches appearing in the cities. But the next figure about financial resources to really implement the actions shows that this is a bit different picture, and many cities actually do not have those finances there, and some, like over 20%, even said that they don't have any finances at all to implement those plans. Next to that, also lack of good cooperation and acceptance among partners come up because energy transition, climate issues, solutions for that, they are really complex ones. They need different parties to work together, and this creates quite many barriers in many local authorities still. Fragmented ownership issues have come up regarding the housing sector, but also energy production, land use, which may be quite complicated barriers to overcome. And of course, lack of skilled and trained personnel. And we see that a lot in our local network activities, that this is one big issue, that even if you have very good plans and even if you have those sparkle persons there, these kind of projects are not possible to realize alone. They need big and integrated and very skilled teams. And also we have been asking, the connection is quite slow. Okay, we have been also asking from our network cities about what do they actually need in order to help them in replication efforts, and of course we are talking very much about this integrated holistic strategic planning approach as well. And this is also not surprising, but cities still need more city showcases. They need good examples, but also bad examples. Cities need storytellings, because storytelling seems to be a really good way of engaging also local councils, politicians, local people. So and it takes time, so it is not very rapidly done. So from the fields of smart city governance and planning are the fields that cities are interested in, and ICT, and this is also proof for us in our application approach that we need to focus on more holistic approach. Cities still need more network possibilities, events, study tours. They are interested in joint projects, European Commission and other funding programs, and different tools to become a smart city. So what it says for us, and I think what it says is it's actually that we are sometimes quite worried that there is a ocean of information, loads of information coming up, and sometimes you feel that there is maybe too much, but actually all this is still needed, and I think we can be confident in doing what we are doing already, and pursuing still in showcasing these experience from these great projects, but also highlighting what didn't work out, and also I think to strive more for this more local level cooperation. Also having this local city network approach is a very beneficial one. In our project, we have seen that this strategy really works, and some local networks already show very good results in terms of replicating solutions, but actually also replicating this holistic planning approach. So this was shortly about the approach that we have been taken in the SmartEnCity project, and of course I'm happy to discuss further later or now.
Thank you. Are there any immediate questions for Merit? Nothing specifically. We'll definitely come back to that. We just discussed this prior to this meeting as well, and so Merit provides some interesting views that we can link to some of the statements that we'll discuss afterwards in the discussion session. Can we move to the next presenter, please? Yeah. Muriel, I think that's you.
Yeah, that's me. Hello, everybody. This is Muriel Pels. Work at the City of Utrecht, Municipality of Utrecht, in European funding affairs. I am participating in the IRIS project that Utrecht coordinates, and I'm also the chair of the task group Replication, on behalf of which I am speaking today in this session. I'm not sharing the task group Replication of the Lighthouse project by myself. I do this together with Maurits Knoets, who is also in IRIS project, and with Giulia Carbonari, who is in the project Positive City Exchange. So my experience with Replication is twofold. One part is from the IRIS project, in which I lead the work package on cooperation with other Lighthouse projects on replication barriers and drivers. And from IRIS project, I've seen that we've done that mostly so far on bottlenecks for smart solar charging, on citizen engagement, for example, preparing or co-creating a solution booklet together with Positive City Exchange and others, and on development of a demonstration project, how to engage stakeholders. Those are topics that we find in IRIS to have contained barriers and drivers for replication. The other experience I have, it's actually on the next slide. The other experience that I have is that in 2019, September, I took over from Lisa Einarsson from the Grow Smarter project, one of the earlier Lighthouse projects, the chairing of the task group Replication, because it's a very active community of replication managers, and it has a lot to share in terms of experience and knowledge to not reinvent the wheel in terms of replication approaches, and also to identify barriers and drivers that we may be able to tackle together, or at least address together. So the task group Replication, for those who do not know it, I think it's good to say a few words on the results, which is on the next slide. In the past 13 months, we've had a community, quite stable community of 68 members from the Lighthouse projects and the related initiatives such as SCIS, EIP SCC, and now also SCALE, for example. This community has met monthly, about 2 hours every month online, and usually with 20 to 25 people participating, mostly the replication managers of the projects, of course. One focal point has been the presentations on the replication approaches by the Lighthouse projects. It says 5 here, but it was actually 6. SmartEnCity, Merit, who just talked, and Triangulum, that was including Leipzig as a fellow city, who just spoke by Nadja. They were also present on these presentations, and they have revealed a wealth of expertise and experience on replication approaches and also barriers and drivers in replication. That has been very valuable. We've also had one presentation, well, by Leipzig as a former fellow city on the transition to become Lighthouse City, and a presentation of an academic article from a partner from Replicate, Igor Calzada, who studied what could be a kind of harmonized replication approach, what is successful in replication approaches. I think that was a very good initiative. I'll talk about that later. And we also lately had a presentation on the new supporting Secretariat for the Lighthouse project scale, but that will be Francesco after me speaking about that in more detail. So an interesting slide after this one, that's about replication happening and when it happens. Replication is actually happening quite a lot, but it's not just happening in fellow cities, it's also happening between lighthouse cities, in national networks, for example, between fellow cities and lighthouse cities of different lighthouse projects, but it's also happening outside of the SSE1 cities framework. So there's more happening, but it's not always easy to catch. What we see also from these presentations in the task group replication is that there are some drivers, you could say, some success factors that make replication happen more likely. And I've mentioned 4, that's not the only ones, but those are recurring several times. They're listed here. It's fellow cities or cities who want to replicate, assessing their city needs first and for all. What is it that they need, and include in that the city team's capacities and skills, because as was just said by Merit, you do need a big and skilled professional team for replication to become smart city. Another point that came up was that it's important that lighthouse cities engage fellow cities from the very beginning in peer-to-peer learning. That seems to work very well. Mentoring, study visits, for knowledge transfer and capacity building, and to be a sounding board for good ideas. Also mentioned often now is that it is about adapting solutions to a local context. It cannot be copy-paste, it always needs to be adapted. It helps to look at the national plans, for example, and engage local and public and private stakeholders locally, and also develop locally a shared language. And I could add to this, it was also said actually by Georg Houwen yesterday in the SCIS event, that there needs to be maybe more attention for the local language, that not all the people, stakeholders, they are proficient in English, and that can be quite a barrier, as all of the documentation available and webinars are in English. So more attention will be paid, I heard from Georg Houwen from the European Commission, to translating documentation into local languages. And then as a 4th point, it's cross-departmental vision and long-term vision to secure future advancements and also secure political support. It's very, very important to have that for replication. Yeah, so from this we drew some conclusions. We had an evaluation this summer with all the members of the task group replication and also the board of coordinators. And there were some quite clear conclusions that we took into our action plan for the next 12 months. But first, the conclusions. What was, of course, very valuable was a tangible, addressable community of replication managers of all the 18 Lighthouse projects, who can exchange online best practices and lessons learned, and can also contribute to the co-creation with SCIS of solution booklets, which have been very valuable for fellow cities, I have heard. So that was all very successful. We also felt that fellow cities should be more directly engaged to learn from each other, to hear the stories, to hear what they need. And for that, the live events that we used to have organized by the project coordinators every half year or so, they are really missed for networking, knowledge exchange, and co-creation. And well, the alternative could be a online repository, which is there already built by SCIS and now evaluating into a SmartCity marketplace website that should be organized, not project structured, but solution structured, and include everything that's relevant, and possibly also be curated to see what are the most valuable, useful webinars, documents. So there's some work there. Talking about work, the third point that came forward was that we have 2 research questions actually that the task group application has not been able to address. No, the other slide, please, before this one. It's the 2 research questions on what is actually being replicated, where, why, and how. And that includes business modeling and finance, or actually the role of business modeling and finance. It was just also mentioned by Merit. It's something that is also wanted by the task group business modeling and finance. They call it value, volume, and timing, because that also is the basis to find out what replication approach actually works. We have seen a lot of replication approaches and methods and visions. Solutions need to be adapted locally, but perhaps the process can be harmonized, clarified in a way that it can be used more easily by fellow cities and other cities to replicate and accelerate and scale up implementation. So those are 2 research questions that we have also taken into our action plan for the next year, 2020-2021, as task group replication, which need to be aligned with scale, whose presentation will be after this one. But so far we have identified 4 objectives. They're on the next slide. There is the continued knowledge sharing on replication strategies that was mentioned before, and there will be more knowledge sharing on replication barriers and drivers. Hopefully also keep co-creating solution booklets, as they were very important, and cooperate with the Smart City Marketplace repository for this purpose. There's the third objective that's kind of new. It's to collaborate with European networks outside SSCO1 or the Lighthouse Network, notably European Energy Research Alliance joint program Smart Cities. Perhaps they can take part of the role of researching what has been replicated, why, where, and how, and what we can learn from this for a replication process. And the fourth objective would be to contribute to research in support of replication, because there are some research questions as mentioned. Okay, this was it for now. Happy to answer any questions and take part in the discussion later today. Thank you.
Okay, are there some immediate questions for Muriel? Muriel, thank you. If we don't have immediate questions, then I suggest we move to Francisco's presentation, and then we'll dive into a discussion afterwards. Francisco, here you go. We cannot hear you, Francisco.
Of course, because the mic was off. Hi everyone. SCIS made me asked me for a big challenge to combine 2 major EU flagships initiatives, the SCALE initiatives and the European City Facility, and also the SmarterTogether project, and to combine these into 5 minutes. I think innocently I accepted to do so. But I'm very happy also because my 3 colleagues, previous colleagues, already did an excellent job in presenting very well and detailing many of the things that I'm going to do. So I'm happy that I will have just a nice wrap up here of everything that was presented. Looking to these 3 initiatives that I spoke to you, there is one element that is very in common, and it's not surprisingly for these 3 initiatives, that is the replication. In SmarterTogether, that is one of the first generations smart cities projects, and it's almost finishing. We came up with some recipes for success and failures that I'm going to share here with you. Already shared with some cases from my colleagues. So it's very, very important here, and maybe this is one of the most important ones that was not referred, and from my experience, that if you don't have a strategy, a vision for the city, a plan, long-term plan, smart city plan, energy plan, the replication will certainly fail. So this is very important here. Also, smart cities problems are projects are and measures are very complex, involve different technical skills, different people, and are normally meant to be used by citizens. And if they are not used by citizens, they fail. And if you don't involve citizens in the acceptance, in the buy-in of them, the recipe is also, or the result is really the failure of the measure. Also referred by everyone in the, before me, the copy-pasting measures doesn't really work, and the lack of money or the maturity of projects is also a big barrier that doesn't allow the project to be implemented. However, in SmarterTogether, we had I cannot move it forward, and I have the control.
Can you try again?
Yes.
Yeah.
So the copy paste doesn't really work, yeah. So, but however, we also have very good learnings from the SmarterTogether and very good also recipes from success, and also that cities love to work on smart cities. The teams are very proud to work on this and are excited, and it's very they are very motivated. So the motivation behind this initiative and the happiness that it puts on the teams is very important for the success. Also mentioned here, sharing, learning, transferring is key for success. And in this image, you see one of the examples, examples of transferability from the city of Vienna, where they had a citizen engagement that was the C-Mobile info point, that is a mobile citizen engagement point that also involved vulnerable communities. And this measure was transferred, not copied, for the reality of the fellow city of Venice when they recycled a bus. So this bus is not super smart, if you see, but what is smart behind this is the recycling, the adaptation, and the tailor of the solution to the reality of Venice as a fellow city. Also important as a recipe for success is allow the cities to create a space for experimentation. It's very important to experiment in the smart cities and to involve everyone in this experiment. And also this is also a seed for replication, not only at local level, regional level, but also at national of Lyon, with the collective self-consumption of renewable energy that is being produced and by solar panels, photovoltaics, where they had a huge increase on the number and the capacity on photovoltaics. This collective self-consumption was very good, this experiment, and allow really also a kind of trigger the change of regulation and legislation at the French level. Also referred here, the rethink on the city governance. Smart city projects are complex ones, so they really need different ways of thinking the city. And also we had examples on the city of Munich and the core group that was a transversal one that put everyone into a single space that had the capacity to take decisions, and also very important, leave no one behind. And this is also a lesson that was also showed by, for instance, the city of Vienna, that involved vulnerable consumers in the social housing, and they test and implement successfully e-car sharing system in a social housing building. So this is very important. And with these learnings from the ground, with these learnings from the ground, we came up to this consortium to really, from SmarterTogether, to really build on the scale proposal. The scale is really the goal to support, scale, promote under a single brand the initiative of the Smart City Lighthouse Group and the Smart Cities, the group, and also and going beyond that and really maximize the impact at European level. This picture here is many of us, we were talking before that we are missing these gatherings, and this is really the Lighthouse community a year ago in Lyon. And this scale will really, the goal is really to organize activities and put in place to support this group. And to support the Lighthouse City Group and also the respective task groups like the replication explained by Muriel, organize roadshows, have a very key role in the organizing capacity building events and peer-to-peer sessions, putting in place a pool of very key smart cities experts from the different projects, mapping demand, also with a renewed collaboration with the Covenant of Mayors, providing financial support to new partnerships to support replication, so this is really the goal of Scale, to be here to support everyone and to really put in place and maximize the impact of the smart cities community and initiatives. And I know that money is not everything in life, but really it helps a lot and makes our life much easier. And cities in general and smart cities in particular are excellent examples on how cities can drive investment programs by building pipelines of investment projects, driving or mobilizing significant amounts of finance and aggregating smaller projects into more sizable packages. And the European City Facility really wants this. It's here to support financially and technically cities, and here a special word for fellow cities, medium-sized cities, to really implement and accelerate the implementation of their projects and their ambitions plans. And by using this facility, this initiative, they really can bring maturity, the maturity needed, and have the resources to increase the maturity of the project, increase the attractiveness and the bankability of the projects, and make it much easier to get the access to or private finance or also public finance to their projects. Just one note that we'll have a call for the next proposals for the European Cities Facility that will be in 2021, in the spring 2021, March, April. So please write down in your agendas. And bringing this all together, just that smart cities are excellent projects or excellent initiatives to really drive the transition and decarbonization at district or city level. And that Scale is here really to support, promote, and scale under an unified brand these initiatives, and that initiatives like tools like the European City Facility or others are here really to help to make your projects more financially attractive and really accelerate the implementation of these projects. So use these tools, these initiatives that are, and by using them, you continue to make sure that cities will continue to lead the way towards the transition that we all aim for. Thank you.
Thank you, Francisco. And including the invite for a call is always an interesting one for the cities engaged in this session. Now, we have a panel. We also have an audience. So I want this next discussion to be interactive. Get ready before lunch. And I'm going to post a few statements, some of them more controversial than others. I'm going to start with an easy one, or let's say with a less controversial one. generally these kind of changes depend on a single person, whether you join a lighthouse project, whether it's not within a lighthouse project context, but you try to initiate a transition process, often depends on a single person and his or her dedication and perseverance. Was it the same in the case of what you, Muriel, Nadja, Francisco, and Merit? Was it the same in your case, and how would you describe that person? Shoot.
Yeah. Well, yes, in IRIS, that was certainly the case. It started actually with the part of the University of Utrecht, the Utrecht Sustainability Institute, Caroline van Hemel. She was very active in local networking, in engaging and aligning local stakeholders. Initially from Utrecht, and then the method, you could say, or the approach was used by the next two lighthouse cities we have on board, Gothenburg and Nice, to also organize themselves into a demonstration locally there. And I think what was very characteristic of this person, Caroline van Hemel, and the way she worked is that she was very ambitious. She was not afraid to have high ambitions, very knowledgeable on the topic of the call at the time. She was very diplomatic. She has been working in an embassy, Dutch embassy in France, I think, and somehow she's very diplomatic in how to deal with different organizations, has a large network regionally, and she was very perseverant. And I remember one of the things she said is that she was talking not with the directors of local regional organizations, but with the enthusiastic experts on the topic. And she was first trying to get them aligned, also in terms of planning, like who has what needs, what interests in this region, in the field of the Lighthouse Project, what are their plans, and how can we sort of combine these windows of opportunities and align these needs. And I think she has been a very, very important person. Of course, it's teamwork, so I can mention several others, like our research organization that helped us very much in sort of putting it on paper in the template way. We had the local SME on the City Innovation Platform, which was super important to understand what it should be about and what was our path from where we were in 2015-16 to where we should be in 2022. And there were, of course, key persons in the municipality. Three important ones: the Smart City Director at the time, the Strategic Advisor on Digitalization, and someone from the EU funding advising European Affairs Department, which was me, I can say, because I took that role from the municipality of Utrecht in the IRIS project at the time. So that's well, maybe too long answer. Sorry about that.
Yeah, but I think the fact that you described Caroline is very interesting. Merit, do you have a person like that? You came in a year after, so I don't know whether you're aware of that person.
Yes, so I was thinking about that question, and of course, I just wanted to highlight that, yes, I also think that these key persons are the key drivers of such really complex projects. And of course, on behalf of our SmartEnCity project, I would really highlight the extraordinary role that our project coordinator, Francisco Perez-Cruel, has. Because this, I think this preparation phase started almost a year, and it was like, well, how he dedicated his efforts in order to combine this excellent team of cities. It was remarkable. So we learned a lot from how he was really working, having this very precise attitude, but also very emphatic attitude towards the cities and really trying to understand the very tiny details. But I also wanted to highlight maybe a more local approach from the lighthouse city of Tartu, because I have the most experience from our city. And here, indeed, we also had this sparkle person. We have a local project coordinator, Mr. Raimond Tam, who is Vice Mayor of Tartu. And he is a really very concrete person, having a lot of network contacts, and he's very, so to say, pragmatic. And what is beneficial for this kind of skill to really coordinate such a project is, I think, having also economic background and having understanding how businesses work, because we work a lot with businesses also in those smart city issues. And Raimond has been also directing a big production company in the private sector in the past, which is a very valuable experience to really coordinate this team and facilitate the developments. But also I would like to mention that what I said before, that these smart city projects, even though those key persons are important and they are necessary to open some doors, especially when we need to talk with politicians and really secure that this is not just single solutions, but this is longer term. This is the new vision of our city. But based on our local experience, the team is really complex, and I think we couldn't do half of it without this team. And actually, all team members have to have this sparkle in their eyes, and they have to do a bit more than is just requested from them. They have to do it on their own initiative. They have to generate new ideas and really to take the next step all the time. And I think this is the key driver, especially if we want to bring this topic closer to our citizens, which is the ultimate goal.
Yeah. Nadja, from your side, who was really the initiator?
I think coincidence at the beginning, because I wasn't working for the municipality yet, but when the Triangulum project was in its proposal phase, it must have been like early 2014, so really a while ago. Actually, there was like, I think like a month before the deadline of the call, I think the city of Leipzig was asked to join, and then the question of do you want to join went through the whole municipality till it got stuck in the office of, like I said, urban renewal, because that was the unit within the city who had done all the ERDF Interact projects so far. And back then, the leader of this unit just says, "Oh yes, smart city might be something that we have to do after we're through with all the urban renewal." So yeah, let's join. And I'm not sure that everyone was aware of the importance of the topic, which has been addressed within the project.
And aware of the work coming in next month.
Yes. And so yes, he was a key driver for also looking into the future and saying, okay, this is something that we need to deal with. And then unfortunately, he got sick for a really long time. And then that's where, let's say, you could see that the political commitment or the commitment of the management level got less, because we got rid of this spokesperson for the project. And then we were working more on a project level. And this is all, like, let's say, from employee base or very low level management level. It's really hard to get in contact, let's say, with the mayors and with the other department leaders that you need to involve in smart city topics, because it's, at least for our municipality, the topics that are related to smart city, so it's like e-mobility, climate protection, energy, is spread out over the whole municipality. So very different departments are involved in that topic.
Yeah.
And that makes it hard, actually.
And could you describe that leader from that unit? What are his characteristics?
Very ambitious as well. I think, Muriel, you put it the right way, and very willing to go beyond his own scope of work. So he was always dealing with topics that were actually not his kind of business. So he was also looking very much forward, and he didn't accept, let's say, what was his duty written down in the job contract, but he was always thinking outside of the box and always engaging with stakeholders on the political level, citizens, associations, NGOs. So he came from that urban renewal perspective. So in Leipzig, we had this huge decline in the city of population in the 1990s with large housing vacancies, industries breaking away, large empty industrial sites. So you had to rethink urban renewal and how to deal with urban development. And coming from that perspective, he transferred this knowledge to the smart city development. And this is also something that we want to keep alive, working as a digital city unit.
Okay, so Francisco, now you have to either confirm the definition of our key person or come up with something that challenges us. So we have, all of them were very ambitious, but on the other hand, had also a very good network. And Merit, what you said, being pragmatic with an economic background, I think that's very, very important. Although it might not come back in all the three, I think this ambitious, going beyond eagerness to learn, and to stand out. Did that come back with the key person in your case as well?
Definitely. I agree with everyone what was said by my colleagues. Just to tease a bit, and I know that in my project, in SmarterTogether, there was always a very, very, very good political commitment and empowerment given by to these city persons or city leads. In the case of Munich, Lyon, Vienna. So for me, it's very important to have the key person. For me, the key person should be also be related with the city, so a city a person from the city. But most important of it is the political commitment. Even if there is no political commitment, and I know of some cases in the smart cities that it happened because of political changes, because of changing of priorities. If you don't have them, even the best project manager will not be empowered and the job will not be done. So the key person is essential, but you need the vision, the strategy, the empowerment of the political level. So you give to the project managers, to the city lead, and then the job would be much more easier. So political commitment for me upstream is really the key.
Yeah. Okay. Anything from the audience on this? Any contribution, any thoughts? If not, you can always raise your hands as well. Graham, please.
Yeah, hi folks. Just picking up on Francisco's point there. I totally agree in terms of political commitment. However, I think there was one piece that's missing in the jigsaw puzzle, which is a bold target to aim at. That will wake people up. And I think too often we lack that. I mean, if I look at a lot of the Lighthouse programs, the mindset of many of the partners is we've been paid 25 million from the European Commission. We divide it over 5 years. We divide it by number of partners. This is the amount of money I get. Let's consume that. And to consume that, I'll do a number of things and I have to write some deliverables. Very understandable. If a politician steps up and says, actually, this is what we're going to do, and Sharing Cities, which Francisco was involved in at the beginning, is the only of the 18 that's got a 500 million scale-up target. That wakes people up if it has political commitment. We have the target, we lack the political commitment. So our opportunity is to connect those two things together. And I believe we should do that not only as individual programs, we should do it as Europe. If I look at the Smart Cities marketplace and the potential that exists within that to take from and exploit the Lighthouse programs and then build from that, it's enormous. But we need political commitment and bold targets.
George, please continue on that.
Hi, good morning, everyone. It's a bit off topic, I have to say, but it's also relevant for replication. So the political commitment, I would support what Graham just said. There's another aspect, I have also posted that in the chat. I think it's very important that we are not sort of bombarding people with an avalanche of all kinds of different platforms. We need to find a way of synergizing all those. And truly the Smart Cities marketplace, and then even more with now the fantastic portfolio of SCIS, with all the experiences you've just explained and so on. This is really going to be a stepstone platform. That's really the vision, to get stakeholders, city, civil servants, whoever, pointed in the right direction, get them the help they need, rather than sort of have a competing a landscape of all kinds of different platforms and initiatives. So really here, the Smart Cities Marketplace is really intending, or the vision is really to provide a hub for all these initiatives, rather than sending stakeholders around from one to the other, but actually giving them one direction once, and then getting them the right help and proper help they need, rather than overwhelming them with information. So that's really the vision. I just wanted to say that because I heard a lot of things on the various initiatives around living in the EU, scale, and you name it. So really just wanted to make sure that this is not sort of, going under with all the fantastic information and interesting thoughts we heard today. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jörg. And coming on top of that, I had a talk with not the political level, but the departments of the government. So they should be non-political. And they were crying for information. They were asking for information, because when we come out with results, we tend to communicate with the policy level. But in fact, a lot of the preparation work and a lot of the changing originate in these departments, which are atypical, and they feed into the policy. Policy takes shorter term decisions. The department take longer term decisions and try to get the right scientific and pragmatic basis for things. And I think we should think about how we advance SCIS and the marketplace to also communicate with these political departments. They're begging for our information. They're begging for understanding our failures and our successes, to know on which side they should start funding stuff or start developing work, which then feeds into the policy level afterwards. So I think that's something important as well in your outreach. Don't forget the non-political people working at the governmental level. Francisco, you wanted to add something to that, if I'm right? No, okay. Okay, anyone else to add stuff? If not, we go to our next and probably our last one. Muriel?
Yeah, I was nodding because I fully agree with what's just been said about this gathering information. It's true that there's been a great need for information about what has been done already, to not reinvent the wheel, to know the various drivers. A lot has been produced, a lot of good quality, informative, inspiring stuff has been produced by SCIS, but also in the action clusters of the EIT SCC. And indeed, it would be great if this would be merged, so there would be like a one-stop shop for anyone, any fellow city that is looking for inspiration. And also, well, it's almost an open door by now, but still I'd like to say it, not to organize it per project, but to organize it per solution, or perhaps per transition track, because that is what is needed, especially by these, not the political layer, but the peer-to-peer layer. And also because this peer-to-peer contact, that's one of the most strong drivers I find in replication. And to also maybe have it curated in a very good way, so that we have maybe different levels of like really keynote webinars, really like summarizing the essence of a transition track, maybe with a solution guide, and then you have like in the solution guides these links for further information. So it's like a tree that you can sort of dive into more detail where what you want to know. I think that is super important indeed, as Georg mentioned, but I fully support that.
Yeah, I think that leveled, layered information is indeed important. A person who's just looking for information, or a person who already knows something but wants to dive deeper, that's definitely very relevant. Joachim, you wanted to add something to that. Go ahead.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Yes. I just have maybe a little different topic here, which I also think is important with respect to replication. And this is the question of standards, because I've often seen also the question of which kind of technical solution is really used. The next question is then, is that a proprietary solution? And if so, then as a city, I'm now in the challenge that I might have the situation that I'm bound to a provider or to a service provider or something like that. So therefore, since I'm also the chair of the DIN Smart City Standards Forum in Germany, it's also a question or a request from my side that on the one side, the usage of standards should be also really encouraged, because that moves away the challenge I've just said, so that you are depending on someone or an institution or a company. And secondly, and that is a little bit the missing part I've unfortunately also seen in Germany. In the beginning, there was a strong push towards this forum, for instance, also to co-working with this kind of work. But on this other side, the question of standards is always a long-term subject. So therefore, then suddenly communities move out, or cities and communities move out. And this is a pity, since we're doing that for communities, and we need definitely their involvement also in standardization, with terms of technology, with terms of, let's say, ecological questions, and also economical questions. So therefore, it would be very wise if we could also think about how we encourage cities, as I said, to use standards and to support this work. That's my comment here.
Any comment from our team? Muriel, Nadja, Merit, Francisco? Francisco nods, he agrees. Okay, Joachim, what I would like to add to that, I think COVID learned us actually a lot at a faster speed than what we're used to. In the beginning of COVID, there was a discussion on the distance, 1.5 meters, or in Austria, they used a small elephant, a baby elephant. That was the distance you have to take. Now, I would ask all of you to say what the size of a baby elephant is. I think we have all something different, but I mean, they made it fun. But that discussion brought me back to 10 years before, when I was doing my postdoc in a team in Austin, Texas, where we did model and test the droplets traffic when coughing and sneezing. So that knowledge is known. And if you follow the discussions on ventilation now on COVID, you see that we are doing stuff that has been done elsewhere. And standards are always following. But I think if we would be able to organize our research community differently, more interacting, more engaging, and maybe more layered, where we say, okay, juniors who have to learn, that's a different thing than the top, but in a crisis like this or in a development of a standard, you should be able to bring that top together to develop it much faster. And linked to that is to be fair on the outcomes and not blow them up. And we had a discussion 2 weeks ago as well here with this team, when we say, okay, any European project should have a specific deliverable on the failures, because knowing these failures will help you transposing it into improved technologies afterwards, into avoiding that we spent money on something that actually failed somewhere else, but would kind of turned into something that might look successful. And it would help to developing these standards much better, more robust, and more to the point for reality. So I think your concern is really valid, and I think we could and should speed up the process of standardization, but it requires us to work completely different, I think, and to work more on an international scale. And I think COVID has learned us that it is actually possible, but we should be open to it. I have a last one, but actually looking at Gabi, or if she's still here, we are actually on the original time, but we started 5 minutes later. Are we allowed to stay another 5 minutes, Gabi?
I'd say yes, until they cut us off.
Until they cut us off. That's really, really nice. Wait, well, maybe on my last point, we discussed it already a little bit, but Francisco, what is your thought on being more open with regards to failures? I mean, it's not easy because you ask people to really be open about it. How would you see it working, and how would you see it turning into value?
Turning on my mic. Absolutely. I think you learn more with your failures than with your successes or other successes. And also in project management, or also in the smart cities, this is absolutely true. In the cases, and also coming to the project where I started to speak about SmarterTogether, one of the main messages from many cities is that it's very important to have the space to experiment. And in this experiment, you when you experiment, you have also this space also to fail and allow them to fail. Cities are very, and sometimes with the political level, are very, very, very focused on the success and on getting the votes. That then the failure is not really on their dictionary and vocabulary. But if we will allow, and if cities also have this space for failure and improving from what did not go well, I think it's a very, very big benefit from them. And we had this also in Vienna and in Munich, was really a message that they passed, that it's important to have this space for failure and to learn and really to do or to correct from what is done. But this is a big challenge, because many times with the city and political calendars and timelines, this is very, very, very a big challenge. So I think it's really important to bring this philosophy that is very present in innovation to also to the public administration level. I totally agree.
Yeah. And do you see your consortia being ready to share it?
Sure.
Okay. Yeah, because it's not so easy. Yeah, I mean, I was writing it down for another European project and deciding it should be confidential, because it's not so easy to do that.
We can, but it was a message that came from the cities as it's important.
Yeah.
So I don't know, and I'm not sure. I cannot say if they are ready to share. For me, I don't speak for them, but.
Yeah.
I think it's, if you're interested, if someone, maybe we can also during the task group replication also organize and invite cities and make a special session on failures and just invite all the lighthouse cities and fellow cities. If, I don't know, Muriel, if it would be a nice idea to try to organize some workshop on this, and we invite all the cities, that would be open to all the cities, and really to share some points on this.
There is a very nice company that does it. It started from a Mexican initiative. It's called the Fuck Up Night. And you know, it's massive. Yeah. It brings you together in a dark room, a bit darker than normal. You're really well prepared to help you to stand up and tell about your failure without looking like an asshole. And you get a lot of alcohol, which helps you to bring it nicely. But we did it a couple of times, and it was really, really successful. And I think, honestly, these will be the things that will be remembered best, like a failure due to a vehicle-to-grid charger, where it turned out that the neighbor always at midnight pushed the button that stopped the thing, the safety button. And that was because he had noise from it, and he was sleeping with his window open just on top of that device. And it took Alejandro, really a guy from Alejandro, dedication coming back at, a guy from Alejandro who said, you know what, I'm just going to stay there tonight and see what happens. And that is what it is about, because you will never know it. They went through the software trying to understand why until they figured out. And that is your user engagement, that dedication, but it is a failure that is, no one's going to ever forget about that. Yeah. Okay, I think we need to wrap up. So I thank you a lot. I think we've brought across some really interesting messages. Let's now pick them up within SCIS, within the marketplace. And I'm finishing the last booklet, so I can take that up as well. It was actually already a bit in it, but that key person, I think that's something I would emphasize to that. So thank you, everyone. And we have a full agenda, I think, still for this afternoon. Gabby, if I'm right?
Yeah.
Okay, so I invite you to take part in that as well. Okay, thank you all.
Cheers. Bye,
Thank
everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Everybody.
Bye.
Goodbye.